Justin Trudeau said that privately to a group of business leaders, policy experts, and politicians in Toronto today. It was part of an economic summit, a brainstorm on how to make the economy less reliant on the United States as its president threatens a trade war. Well, Goldie Hyder was in attendance there. He's the president and CEO of the Business Council of Canada, and he joins us now. Goldie, good to speak with you. A lot going on, as you just heard. I wonder if what insight or reaction you can share with us on what the Prime Minister said in that meeting and what we have reported about what happened in the phone conversations with President Trump, that they were given the heads up that the president may start threatening treaties, and President Trump started dangling a conversation about the 1908 treaty on the Canada-U.S. border. And this seems to inform some of their thinking that he's pretty serious about his intentions. How do you view that?
Well, look, David, thanks for having me. And obviously, I was in a meeting that was in a closed-door meeting, so I won't speak about what specifically took place there. Suffice to say that I'm a little surprised at all the attention the comments are receiving, simply because it's not a secret. The president not talked about this once or twice. When you say something 10, 15 times, just maybe you are serious. And so we believe that the country is taking it seriously already. And that's part of what I saw in this room today, is people who normally might be, battling on a number of things, business, labor, and different groups, have come together. The president's comments have effectively galvanized our country and have unified us, because what it's served to do is to say, what's going on here and how can we let that happen? As Minister McKinnon said earlier we're proud Canadians. We're going to defend ourselves. We're going to unite, and we're going to move forward. How do you do that? And what happened in this room today is an opportunity. Governments are going to come and go, with all due respect, but the people in that room who really represent Canadians found a way to get past their differences, to say we've got to work together and see this as an opportunity, see this as a wake-up call to strengthen our own country. The president is not responsible for the interprovincial trade barriers. Mm-hmm. He's not responsible that we've landlocked ourselves to a single customer on so many of our products. He's not responsible for how long it takes to get permitting done to get these critical minerals that we all talk about, like they're available at the corner store. These are things that Canada has done to itself, and I think we're in a place now where, if we're serious about bringing down those interprovincial trade barriers, yes, I know the field is littered with people who have said they're going to do that. We met with Minister Anand yesterday, and she is working very hard with the premiers, whom I'm told are unified. And all it takes, David, is simply to say we mutually recognize each other's regulations and laws. If we can't do that inside Canada, then we have no right to be lecturing other countries about protectionism.
No, and look, I take your points there, but I do want to circle back. You're surprised that these comments are getting so much attention. I appreciate President Trump has said these things before, or versions of these things before. But the fact that a senior U.S. official felt the need to give the Canadian government a heads up, and then President Trump is getting into the granular, details of a 1908 treaty between the United Kingdom and the United States. Does that alarm you in any way that he's going through the fine print of how the continent is structured?
David, if we spent our time thinking about what's going on in Washington or how to appeal to an audience of one, we're losing this moment. It is far more important for us to be talking to Canadians, to talk about the fact that when you are wanted this badly, it must be because you have something that the United States wants, in which case I would tell you, so does a lot of other countries in the world. Look what we did when we sent the Germans back, the Japanese, the Koreans, the Greeks on our LNG. Just today, it's being reported that America and Japan are working on a way to get LNG to Japan via Alaska, where Japan would pay for the pipeline. We have what the world wants. Enough of where we've been. We need to focus on where we are. It was music to my ears to hear a government that was anti-nuclear, that was anti-pipeline, that was anti-LNG, now suddenly talk about all of these things as being critical to our future. I couldn't agree with them more. So let's seize this moment. Let's not be distracted. Let's take it as an opportunity to build Canada, to strengthen Canada, to come together, to work in the best interests of Canadians, and to build our prosperity. Because, David, if we don't do it now, we're going to go back to regularly scheduled programming, and that's not in our national interest. If we don't realize that today, I don't know what it would take.
Look, as someone who's been on the air too much lately, I wouldn't mind a bit of regularly scheduled programming, but I take your point on the economy. But look, I get the importance of having the conversations you're having in that room today and all the different interests, and maybe there is the urgency to knock down some of these trade barriers and clean up regulatory things to speed things along. But someone who wasn't in that room today was Doug Ford, who called an election to totally on the intention of dealing with the United States. And he said he didn't need to be in a room with a bunch of people he's talked to 1,000 times when he knows what needs to be done. I mean, what do you say when the leader of Canada's biggest province, even though he's in the middle of an election campaign, said something about that, like that about your efforts today?
Well, look, he's in the middle of a leadership in an election campaign, so I won't be commenting on that. What I will say is I'm looking forward to go to Washington with 13 premiers next week, a group of CEOs that have businesses in America, that have interests in terms of deepening our relationships. Because, David, you know what we can't get away from are the facts. And just like Canada has to deal with the facts that it has when it comes to getting our natural resources to market, we also have to share with Americans that their economic security is deeply intertwined with Canada's. Why do you think he has the interest in Canada? It's our critical minerals, it's our oil, it's our gas, it's our potash, it's our nuclear, it's our AI capabilities, it's our aerospace. There's all kinds of industries that are in Canada where we are global champions. And one of the things I want to see coming out of this, one of the reasons I said yes on a late Friday evening to be with you, David, is to talk to Canadians directly about how we need to look at ourselves and realize that this is a moment for us to get away from some of the historical the things about being Canadian, ripping down the successful and, kind of spending money we don't have and all those things that have made us the way we are. That is not going to get us to where we need to go. We need to be ambitious. We need to have a growth strategy because clearly we have what everybody wants, David. So let's not be weak. Let's come at it from a position of strength, but be mature in our response, be strategic and deliberate in our response, how we're going to get Canada right, how we're going to get North America right, and how we're going to leverage our relationships and our trade agreements that we have around the world. We have these things before us. We just need to use them.
A lot of the reorientation of markets for some of the big things, that's going to take time, right? Like, well beyond the 30-day pause, for example, on the tariffs. So it's an effort that's going to need to be medium to long term for a lot of it. But Goldie, as a final point, Anita Anand, going back to the internal trade thing, the interprovincial barriers, she says a lot of this can be knocked down and flattened within 30 days. I mean, do you buy that? Because I've been at a lot of premiers conferences where they've talked about this and it doesn't really happen except on the margins. Do you think there's enough urgency that you can see real meaningful progress, say, by March 1?
Well, it's said that the crisis focuses the mind, and it's clearly focused the mind. I mean, we have premiers Eby and Legault and others talking about the importance of, oil and gas flowing east to west and west to east. It's amazing to hear that. We have a prime minister who's declared how huge fan he is of nuclear. I mean, these are all facts that have simply just caught up to our time. So can we bring those barriers down? Yes, we can. In fact, we met with Minister Anand yesterday and a group of chief executives to talk about, labor mobility, to talk about, how it is that these barriers are a tariff on Canadians imposed by Canadians on Canadians. It's a tax. And if we don't bring them down now, when your economy is, yes, it's okay. We had 76,000 jobs created this month, largely because how well the Americans are doing. We want to make sure that we control our own destiny. It's supposedly, I believe it's been said that there's about 4% of GDP growth trapped in those interprovincial barriers. That is a phenomenal number. If we get half of that, people will see that to their benefit. Costs will come down, more jobs will be created, and we'll have economic growth in our country. And that's how you maintain your sovereignty. You don't become dependent on others. You become independent by growing your economy and playing to your strengths. And part of our strengths is our human resources. We have really smart people here, David, and I think we're going to figure our way through this.
Goldie Hyder, always appreciate the time, sir. Thank you for being here late on a Friday.
Good to be with you.